Alright, so I'm just going to do a quick video on the process that I'm using to edit my book before I send it off to my editor. But before I do, I'm going to explain first off the process and second off why this is beneficial. Now the process is, and I'm sure people have heard this recommendation before, is to go through their book backwards. Now that sounds crazy, and it is. I verify that. I have gone through about 50,000 words at this point out of 80,000. I've been doing it for about a week. My brain feels like it's melting out of my skull, but I wouldn't be still doing this if it wasn't, one, incredibly effective, and two, be teaching me incredible amounts just from the process. Now, the tools I'm using today are Microsoft Word. That's tool number one. And two, I am using a pro writing aid. I'm using the 2-week trial because I wanted to give it a shot. My recommendation would be to either get the 2-week trial when you're fully editing your manuscript, or purchase it for 1 month. I don't think I would need this consistently, although I may if I use it enough buy the lifetime subscription just because, just to show support. But there are many options. If you're going to do an editing month for your manuscript, you could just get the 1 month and it's $20 a month, so that's very possible too. So anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, let's have a look at what is going on. So I'm on chapter 12 of my manuscript in Word, and many apps use this as well. In Word, they have this ability to select heading and content, as you can see right now. So I'm going to do that, so I can select all of chapter 12. Now, there's a ton of different things that run checks on this chapter, but I'm going to use one in particular. It's a basic one. I tend to run a few other things as well here and there. It all depends. If you get this, even if you get the trial, what I would do is I'd run on a small paragraph or one chapter all the different checks and see which ones pop out to you as things that need fixing. Some of these I don't find need much fixing, so I'm not going to use all of them. It looks a bit overwhelming, but it's not. The ones I use is style. When I've done the style check, I will very quickly go over the grammar check. I will go over the sticky check. That's a big one for me, just based on my style of writing. I need the sticky check. And then if I'm feeling it, I can do the overused one as well. By that time, readability should be fine, so you shouldn't need a lot of these things. I like just, some of the big ones for me are style, grammar, and sticky. So we're going to start with style. So let's click that. Occasionally it will say, you're doing a big block of text. That means one of two things. One, it means your chapter's really long, or two, it means it doesn't recognize the select from your chapter. So you just need to select it again, the same as I did before. Now, I've done some of this chapter, so I'm going to go down to where I haven't done, and we're going to go through a paragraph or two and see how this works. So, step one is I'm reading my book backwards, and what that means is sentence by sentence, I read my book backwards. Now, the reason that this is beneficial is because it removes the bias your mind has, the expectation your mind has about the story and about what's coming next, which means that you're able to have a look at sentences as they are without context. But as I've done this for 50,000 words or so, I have found a number of other things that this is beneficial for, but I will talk about them in a little bit. First, let's just talk about the actual style of writing. Now, it will depend where you are as a writer, but what I found is that the frequent fixes I'm finding in this is then translating into when I write later. It's I will automatically write better later because my brain has fixed so many of these things. I hate the idea of having to fix them again, and also my brain has created new, like, what, neural pathways or whatever it is that they, I've created a new habit. When I'm deleting these words and I'm changing them repeatedly in 50,000 words, I've created a habit with my writing. So let's have a look. I think this is where I was. The words had to replay through his head several times before he understood them. Yes, I fixed that sentence. We will take the human cities for our people. I read that too. Let's just jump to here. It was a concept that held Noxon by the neck, the necessary strength of their people weaving its way into every corner of their traditions. Let me just read that again. It was a concept that held Noxon by the neck. I quite like that, actually. The necessary strength of their people weaving its way into every corner of traditions. That's convoluted. It's a bit busy. What we're going to do about it. First off, it's said this is an unnecessary word. Ironic, because it's necessary. The word is necessary. However, I actually agree when you remove these bulky words, it does actually strengthen your sentence, even though it's less description. Let's have a look. the strength of their people weaving its way into every corner of their traditions. Now, strength can be misinterpreted, so the reason I don't like that word, and I think I have to do more description, is because strength, the physical prowess would be a good one, the fighting prowess of their people wove its way into every corner of their traditions. Now, again, it's a longer, more convoluted sentence, so I actually want to simplify that. It's my choice. You could write it the other way into all of their traditions. It was a concept that held Noxon by the neck. The fighting prowess of their people wove its way into all of their traditions. There's still something wrong about this. Some sentences will take longer than others, and that's okay. Some are very quick and easy, and some it's like I'm trying to convey too many things in one sentence. That means I have to split it up, or I have to remove some of the things I'm trying to convey, or simplify some of the things I'm trying to convey. Let's have a look. It was a concept that held Nox by the neck. I'm actually going to end it here. Let's have a look if I can Sometimes I have to go up a few sentences and have a figure out as to what the context is in order to make sure I'm fixing it right. Value was determined by a keeper's to fight. I actually am just changing it completely because I realized that what I'm trying to communicate is a lot simpler than the way I was trying to explain it. Tradition dictated that a keeper's value was there, I like it. It was a concept that held Noxon by the neck. Now we can transition these. It was a concept that held Noxon by the neck. Tradition dictated that a keeper's value rested on their ability to fight. That is so much better than it was before. Don't ask me to tell you what it was before. I don't even remember. Like I said, it's like my brain is melting out of my ears. Okay, it was a concept that held Noxon by the neck. Tradition dictated. Okay. Oh, you know what? Even there. A keeper's value rested on their ability to fight. Even simpler, much better. Don't capitalize that A. It's late. I've worked a long shift. Excuse me a little. Okay. He had grown up with the assumption that they would eventually be living in war times. Now, a bit passive. You see this? It's saying it's passive. The purple, pass. Passive, pass. Okay. He had grown up with the assumption that they would eventually be living in war times. They would one day live. So be living in is a bit passive. They would one day live. It's got a bit more power to it. He had grown up with the assumption that they would one day live in war times.
So quick pause. I did notice the missing word up in that sentence, but that's why the last round of edits, which is the listen to your book all the way in text to speech, is a really good way of finalizing everything.
And there we go, believing. He had grown up believing that they'd one day live in war times. It was a concept that held Noxon by the neck. A keeper's value rested on their ability to fight. That is so much more punchy. This whole paragraph now takes a lot less effort for the reader to understand what you're trying to say. It's not, Vaesen asked, feeling thoroughly confused. Oh, how typical. Come on. Feeling confused, I don't even like that. It's not, Vaesen asked. Obviously, he's confused. I'm just going to remove that. That's creative freedom. Some people wouldn't. I just forget it. It's not, Vaesen asked. He'd grown up believing that they would one day live in war times. It was a concept that held Noxon by the neck. a keeper's value rested on their ability to fight. It already explains that he's having conflict with the idea. I don't need to say he was confused. There we go. So I think that is actually good enough for now. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this video. I just sort of made it spontaneously. Maybe I will make a YouTube account just for a writer's journey. This was, I think it's just been so beneficial to me. Now, I'm going to go over a couple of the other ones, the other things I was going to say, which is why would you do this? What benefit does it hold? Do you have to be self-published? Do you have to be wanting to be traditionally published? Now, here's the deal. I'm sending it off to an editor on Friday, but now it is, first off, it's a copy edit because that's what I can afford right now, and that's where I'm at. The thing is, a copy editor will edit your grammar and make sure that it's technically correct. Now, I'm sure she can do much better than that, but I am paying her for a copy edit. I don't want to down talk my editor. I'm very excited about working with her. Now, she will not do what I just did, right? So I'm doing a different level of editing. There's developmental edits, there's line editing. Mine's more of a stylistic line edit, as far as I can tell. I'm a bit vague on these things. She's doing a copy edit, which means technical correctness. She's not going to be fixing my sentences like this. So it's greatly beneficial for me, before I get the technical edit of the grammar and the correctness of it, that I make the actual words that I'm trying to say be more punchy and make more sense to people. That is very valuable. Now, if you're going into traditional publishing and you are expecting the people who get your manuscript to be fixing it up themselves, that is fine. I still think this has so much value, because when that whatever it be, like some people are trying to get agents, some people are just trying to get in with the companies themselves. Whoever's going to read your manuscript, the more punchy your writing is, the more you get across what you're saying, the faster someone will get into your book. So even just on the merit of selling, of trying to entice someone to like your book, having sentences that need less work. First off, that's good for editing process, less editing, it'll cost them less to have you, but also just on selling it to them. If they are engrossed in the first line, it's going to be so much easier for them to determine, it's going to be so much easier for them to read it, and therefore more likely to pick you up. So I think this has so much value. Now, I just did one paragraph, but yeah, I just wanted to go over the just incredible value this has had. My mind has started to redefine its pathways for writing. I'm less passive. It's all dependent on where you're at, but you want to know the beauty about this kind of edit is that I'm figuring out my weaknesses, which means even if you don't have my problems, it doesn't mean you won't find your problems when you do this. Now, going backwards through the other amazing benefit that this has, and I'm really serious about this, continuity errors. I've never caught so many continuity errors, little ones, luckily, but oh my gosh, I'm serious. And my husband asked, like, how do you get continuity errors when you read it backwards? Well, I'm still reading it in some sort of order that it's supposed to be read. It's just the reverse order. So at some point, one of my characters was picking herself up off the ground, right? And then, like, before, it said that she was on a seat. And so, like, technically, first she was on, well, sorry, just to clarify, she must have got to the ground somewhere. So even though the order of events is she went from the seat to the ground, then picked herself up, if I'm still reading it backwards, I'm reading ground to seat. Now, there was no point at which she went from the seat to the ground. It doesn't actually matter what order I read that in. The point is there's still actually an order of events that is in sort of the order it's supposed to be in the book. I'm not really articulating myself very well, but that's okay. So I can still catch those things. I'm like, at some point she fell to the floor. If the next thing I read is that she was in a chair and she'd never fallen to the floor, I still know that's continuity error. But because you are sifting through each sentence as an individual, you are picking up on little details that you never picked up on before in your writing, which means continuity and also emotion. There are a lot of scenes in here which I'm like, this seems to be a very important moment. yet I never explain, or I never describe, or I never show their emotions. The things happen in front of them. So because you are taking time in a way you'd never otherwise be able to analyze each sentence, you also do a deep dive into your book and find out where areas that are supposed to be much more emotional aren't enough, or perhaps there's supposed to be more description, or perhaps there's supposed to be more action. You can't even get into the sort of the details of your sentences as well as you can when doing this, because when you're reading it front to back, forward to front, start to end, your brain starts filling in those gaps for you because you're supposed to be reading it in this order. But when you're doing it backwards, totally different story. And then also the other thing I wanted to mention was action scenes. Oh my gosh, action scenes are easy to write really badly because you are just sort of caught up in the moment and it's really fast. Reading them back, so my action scenes have become so much more clear and easy to understand because I'm looking at my descriptive words, picking up descriptive words that I use multiple times unnecessarily, because I've already gone through in great detail one sentence that says so and so, like the grass green hair. That's not a thing, but grass green hair. I've noticed that because I read it the first time. Then if I read it again in 2 sentences, I'm like, well, I already had to look at it for that long and be like, what the crap. Then if I see it again, I know I've repeated it because I'm analysing each sentence. Will this make your brain melt out of your ears? Absolutely it will. I would not be doing this though if it didn't have absolutely incredible benefits, not only to the manuscript itself, but to my writing process. If you continue to do this, you will just get better and better and better. You will be continuously catching your flaws as they happen and fixing them. Now, lastly, I don't want this to be longer than 20 minutes, I'm going to go over the other ones. So let's have a look. I do style, next I do grammar. Obviously Word has its basic grammar one, but let's just do it quickly here. Oh, no, okay, well, that was bad. Again, these second ones, it sounds bad to do all style, then all grammar, then all sticky. But the nice thing is, when you go through the style one, you'll fix a lot of the grammar, you'll fix a lot of the sticky, you'll fix a lot of the cliches, you'll fix a lot of these other things, because if a sentence sounds wrong, you know it sounds wrong, and you know you need to fix it, so you'll fix it anyway, and then your grammar will come up less. So the grammar will take only a few minutes, and the cliches will only take a few minutes. And same with the sticky sentences. The sticky sentences are big for me. So here we go. It's just said, if we do not act now, it will be too late. See, I'm really bad at grammar. I don't know if it's right, but I'm going to do it. Luckily, that is something my copy editor is supposed to be catching, so good for that. Let's do sticky. One sticky sentence found. I found that I've got like a couple of chapter in sticky sentences. You got to look it up if you don't know, because I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes. No, but the designs they come up with are much harder to eradicate once developed. So lots of theys, buts, thus, with, are. So these sort of muddy up our mind and make it stickier to walk through the sentence. That's how I interpret it. No, but designs, so just designs they come up with are much harder, are harder to eradicate once developed. Eradicate once developed is harder to eradicate once developed, that's fine. No, but designs they come up with are harder to eradicate once developed. Let's see if it catches that on the second round of sticky. It still does, but it's better, its analysis is better. Now, sometimes you can't stop a sentence being sticky. I think this if I was to reduce a sentence anymore, it would become not understandable in any way. So I'm going to leave it. And that's okay, because I still think it tightened it up. Don't take these as law, take them as suggestions, and it's wonderful if you do. If you can sort of make your mind function the way it's telling you to, in this way that you can catch it before you write it the next day. See if there's any cliches. These are the ones I like. I don't do much other than this. Wipe us out, it says as a cliche. Overused, this one's brilliant. I do this in bigger chunks than this though. I'm advised using much bigger. Now of course it's going to catch a lot of the obvious one, but yeah, see, like saying hello, that's good to know. If this was a few more times I might be reviewing that. However, I'm happy with the repeats here, so I'm going to leave it. Okay, so that actually sums up this process, what I'm doing to go through my book. I cannot express how incredible this process is and how much it's helping. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope I can make more ones like it. I'm just loving this, making my brain melt out my ears. but I can't stop because I just cannot give up the opportunity to improve my writing this much. All right, catch you next time.